Afternoon. My name is Victoria Bowman. I'm the Success Coach for Liberal Arts Division, and we have Stephen Waniak, student advocate from James Kearney campus.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us for this webinar.
Beautiful. We're going to present SMART goals, getting you there, as part of the virtual student support webinar series provided by the college. So the first thing that we have to ask is, what are goals? A lot of us are sort of confused about that sometimes, and they're a part of every aspect of our life, and they help us define what we want to achieve. If we put forth the effort and we have the ambition, we can have a clear outcome and get the desired results. So there are steps to having goals. And then we need to talk about what SMART goals are. Steve, if you'd like to talk about that.
Sure. So I think what a lot of individuals struggle with is we all have goals, but a lot of times they're kind of shapeless, they're general, they're vague. And so it becomes difficult to come up with a clear set of steps to achieve those goals and to even know when you've actually successfully achieved them. So the SMART goal system is a way to think about and define and structure your goals to improve your chances of succeeding in them and to get a lot of additional benefits from that process. So the idea behind SMART goals is that you're planning them very, very carefully with clear and trackable objectives. And they can apply to really anything that's going on in your life. So we all have to find that balance between things like family and academics and work. So these SMART goals can apply to any of those categories to provide that focus to improve success. And you know, this kind of system is very, very helpful. Yeah, it takes a little bit of extra thinking in the beginning to construct them in this format, but it really helps you accomplish more goals, and that sense of accomplishment, that boost of being able to check something off that list, really helps tremendously. And the system is also very valuable for time management, because if you're really deliberate and strategic about constructing those goals, you'll be able to accomplish them and also ration your time more effectively. So this is a system very much worth exploring and trying out in those different areas where you already have those goals.
And so I do agree with Steve 1000% that when we have a clear vision of what we want to achieve, we can do so. And that's what SMART goals help us do. And so it's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So when we talk about that, we have to think a short-term goal would be something like getting a B on my bio quiz. And a long-term goal is I want to transfer to a four-year school. Everyone's goals are going to be different. And everyone, their long-term goal might not be to go to a four-year school. It might be to get a credential to get a better job. So we have to put it in the context of what our own life is. The first goal is specific, and sometimes that can be a little tricky to understand. So it's well-defined and very clear-cut. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish? Think of them in terms of the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, and why are the specific goals. So what you want to try to avoid is that overarching idea of I'm going to study. Well, what does that really look like? And that relates to the time management piece that Steve is talking about. So instead of saying this overarching I'm going to study, you're going to say instead, tonight I will read pages 3 to 15 and do exercises 3 and 4. This way you're not overwhelmed with information, especially now in these unusual times when we have a lot of obligations and we're isolated in one place. It can feel really overwhelming to have Zoom with all of our professors and have things going on within the household as well. So by having very specific goals here, it will help us manage what we need to do. Steve, would you like to talk about measurable?
Yes, absolutely. So the idea behind making your goals measurable is all about trying to figure out when are you going to know when you're successful. So measurable goals are identifiable, they're real and concrete. And yes, this is very related to being specific. But again, the focus here is more on the outcomes than the goal itself. So, you know, saying I want to get a better part-time job, well, how are you going to measure that? You know, in what way is that measurable? Versus going to the job fair on Friday and we'll schedule at least one interview. Now you know exactly how you're going to measure the success of that goal. Success will be having attended that job fair and having gotten that interview. even in terms of progress towards that goal, making it measurable helps you figure out how far along and helps you be able to really keep sight of that end result.
And so it is relatable, as Steve said, to specific, because we are saying something specific. We are going to the job fair. We will get at least one interview. However, that does give us the opportunity to measure that outcome. Did we do that thing? Were we able to fit that into our schedule? So we have to remember that we can be fluid and flexible. Obviously, you're not going to be going physically to a job fair right now on Friday, but there might be a Zoom meeting or a virtual job fair that you can attend as well. And you can work that into your day. So when we talk about achievable, that's also meaning, is it attainable? Is it practical? So we have to fit it into the context of, is it realistic for our life? And is it reasonable for us? We can't expect ourselves to do something that's that's not within our reach, for instance. So of course we want to graduate more quickly, we want to move on, but is taking 5 classes each semester really achievable for you? Is it really realistic? Or would it be more realistic to take 3 classes and pass them well with a C or better, so you can continue to move forward and you don't kind of get stuck in that repeat of classes because you've been taking too many and you get overwhelmed with your other obligations? So instead, we would say something like, since you work part-time, I will take 3 classes in 1 summer class. And that may be more achievable. And it's also very specific and very measurable. I think that we all have other obligations, like I said, outside of getting our college education. And if we maintain these SMART goals, it helps us work toward that.
And I think the key part there was that since I work part-time, making your goals achievable is all about context. It's about considering everything else you have going on, which is why this structure is so helpful, because it helps to remind you that each of these individual goals does not exist in a vacuum.
Yes, absolutely. No vacuum. So, and are our goals relevant? I mean, we have to think about what our life looks like and why these things are important to us as individuals. So everyone, what does our goal meet for us? Is it significant? Is it appropriate? For instance, I'm too tired to cook every day, so I'm ordering in this week. And we can see here how it's not just education related, but it's also life related. So your health and savings are important. You'll plan your meals on Sunday and order in once or twice a week. And so that's a very wonderful goal to have, but is that even realistic for you, right? So we have to go back to that. Is that attainable? Maybe it's not attainable to do it every Sunday. Maybe it's attainable to do it a couple of times a week. So you have to work it into how it fits into your lifestyle. Steve, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you just about covered it. Like we said, it's all about prioritizing. And again, especially now when everything is so unusual, everyone is forced to reevaluate their priorities in ways that we couldn't conceive of even a couple of weeks ago. So that sense of prioritization is very, very personal. It's based on you and your individual circumstances. But again, factoring in that thought process of what is most important is really critical to help you evaluate, which of your goals are going to be focused on at a particular time, and might even force you to reevaluate something like how measurable that is, or what those outcomes are going to look like.
So the last part of SMART is the T, which is timely or time bound, and a goal needs a deadline to be effective and to be measurable. So we want to maintain flexible timelines, and we want to be able to plan ahead with deadlines. So a lot of times I always tell students, use a hard copy planner or the planner on your phone, put in everything that, is necessary for your classes to succeed. You want to be sure that you know the deadlines for papers and for tests and for quizzes if they give you the quizzes. And then knowing those deadlines, you can maintain your flexibility with your own internal timelines and external timelines. And you can use that fluidity again to be able to fit things in and be successful. So the avoidance here would be, I have a test tomorrow, so I'm going to cram and pull an all-nighter. A lot of us try to do that. How many of us are successful? Probably not that many. So instead, we want to say, I have a test next week, and that goes along with having the planner and having the deadlines. And I'm going to plan a study schedule. So you're not going to have to do it all at once. If we go back to the idea of planning something in chunks, right? We're not going to have to do all of this at one time, no cramming. And we're going to have enough time to actually plan something. And I think that that's really an effective tool. The deadline is an effective tool. So moving on, here's a SMART goal sheet that will be posted as a PDF next to the link for the webinar. It's actually very useful. It gives you, once again, the SMART goals and what they mean, what each letter means, and a description. And then on the second page, it asks you to come up with 3 goals of your own. So we gave you lots of examples of what each goal should look like, could look like for you. But we would really like you to think about your own goals. Just 3, not a huge amount. And that's part of keeping things relevant and specific for you, not to go overboard and to keep things, you know, a little bit more tight. But we would like to see you use your worksheet and set 3 SMART goals, 2 short-term and 1 long-term. So remember, if we go back to the bio test and we go back to the transferring to a 4-year school, the bio test is a short-term goal and the transfer is a long-term. So right now in what's happening and being at home, you know, the long-term isn't what we're thinking about right now. We have to think about how our day is structured and what I want to achieve today and tomorrow and, you know, Friday, et cetera, to be successful in all areas of our life. So the long-term might take a back seat. So make that your 3rd goal on the worksheet. Steve, did you want to add anything to using this worksheet?
No, I think the worksheet is outstanding. And I think that hopefully once you use that and once you start going through this SMART goals system, you're really going to like it. And it's going to help you be more successful and accomplish more of these goals. And hopefully you'll want to do quite a few more than 3 moving forward. And so I think it's very, very helpful to figure out what the best system is for you personally to keep track of that. I know I work with plenty of students who like to write things down by hand, and they have a planner that has maybe a to-do list section where they can keep track of these. Also, with some of the resources that you might be using technologically, I know every single student has that student email that has that Microsoft Outlook account. At the bottom left of that screen, there's a little check mark that takes you to the tasks tool, which again is integrated right into your calendar, right into your email. And that'll allow you to keep track of any goals that you want to set for yourself. I'm not much of an Apple person. I use Gmail. Google Calendar has a whole to-do app in there that will allow you to keep track of these and check things off as you go. And again, I can't stress enough, once you start really getting into this strategic, organized goal setting system, it's such a great feeling to check something off of that. It gives you such a rush, makes you feel so accomplished, keeps you motivated to keep working towards that next goal. So having a nice structure that works for you and the tools that you're using every day is, I think, really helpful. And it might take some trial and error. Those are just a few examples in addition to the worksheet that you might use to keep track of these moving forward.
And I find too that the planner, the hard copy planner, sounds somewhat old school, but it really does work as well, because you can do a lot of long-term planning in that without having to sift through a whole lot of tasks online, right? And so it really depends on what you enjoy doing and what works well for you, as Steve said. It's sort of like having a to-do list and checking off that box or crossing off that number on your list does give you that sense of accomplishment, and it makes you want to keep using the goal setting system. And I think that that's really important too. So mark your calendars upcoming. We would really, really like you to schedule a virtual appointment with your advisor or coach right now as we move into the summertime and things, hopefully get back to normalization and we can meet with you one-on-one. You can do that as well. We would love for you to bring your completed SMART Goals worksheet with you and we can review that together. We can talk about time management as well using a SMART Goals calendar. And we also have more student support workshops that are being held virtually. We left here a link for you to either write down or click. If you look at the this virtual webinar, you should be able to click right in it, but just in case you can't, it is written down at the bottom as well. We have some really great ones coming up, some time management, also some ones that will help you stay mentally and physically well, which we think is really important to help with this time that we're in. So if you have any questions, you can contact Success Coach at mccc.edu or Success Coach JKC at mccc.edu. Remember that we're here to help you on both campuses because we are one campus, right? Also, this is found on the main page of our website for Mercer, but there are some great resources and lots of information that is posted right on the website as well, including these webinars. So we're really glad that you joined us today. Steve, would you like to add anything else?
No, you covered it all. Thank you so much for reviewing the webinar. We hope to hear from you to follow up and hope you'll share some of these goals with your success coach so we can provide feedback and help you accomplish them.
So wonderful. And Steve is located on the JKC campus primarily, and I, Victoria Bowman, am located on the West Windsor campus primarily, so you can reach out to either one of us as well as the main lines. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you and hope you enjoy the webinar.